beautiful and sexy you. Welcome back to Practice Intimacy. This is the place to be to learn all about love, sex, and how to have the best relationship you possibly can. I'm Jamie Lynn, and I am really excited about this topic. Neuroscience is one of my passions. Like when it comes to what I love talking about, it's relationship, sexuality, neuroscience, and Tantra yoga. Those are like the big four for me. And today's subject is going to be all about the ways in which our brain talks to us, because there's actually 5 different ways in which we can get information from our brain and nervous system. And so what I want to do is I want to describe those 5 things. I'm going to tell you why it's important to even know this and practice it, and then I'll give you an example of how you could practice this in your life. Let's start with the why. I always like to know, why is this important first? And then we'll get into what it is. So the reason why it is helpful to really listen to what is being communicated inside of you, to learn the different languages that your brain speaks, is because with self-awareness, you can create better relationships. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is simply that if you pay attention to what's happening inside of you, you'll know what you want, you'll be able to communicate that to others, and you'll be following your internal knowing about what will be best for you in life, which is really key in building close connections and intimate relationships with others. If you don't know yourself, then you cannot be close to others well. You could still get close to others, but it does not feel the same. You would not have the same amount of intimacy as someone who knows what they want, goes after what they want, communicates well with others about what they want. It's an entirely different life whenever you really learn this skill. And so self-awareness is really the whole point of understanding the information that's coming up inside of you, knowing these different languages of the brain. There's a little part of me that cannot skip saying, this doesn't only help your relationships, this helps your entire life. If you learn to listen deeply to your own internal system, if you move towards greater self-awareness, you'll have a sense of what you want from your career, what you want from all your relationships, be it romantic or friends or family. You'll have a sense of what feels good to you in play, in hobbies, in life, and you'll be one step closer towards, what should we call it, self-actualization, enlightenment, peace. Peace is the one. We'll go with that. Most of us could use a little bit more peace in our lives. And if you know what's happening inside of you, you are one step closer to that experience. So that's the why you should practice this. Let's talk about the how. There are 5 different languages that your brain speaks in order to understand and reflect on information. So every single thing that is coming into our awareness is data. You can think of it purely as data. And our whole body, brain, nervous system is built to take in data and feed us information that is relevant. And it could be relevant in the sense of now you are hungry, go eat. Or it could be relevant in the sense of remember how to get to work every day so that you don't get lost on the way there. It could be remember what your partner likes so that you can do things for them to keep exciting, fun dynamics going together. Every single thing that is going on around you is just energy and information. And our whole being is built to take in energy and information and then feed us almost like an analysis of what's going on so that we know what to do next in order to take care of ourselves in the best way possible. So much information, right? I get really excited about brain stuff. So the 5 ways that our brain communicates this data analysis to us are behavior, affect, sensation, image, and cognition. A really, really easy way to remember this, it comes from Dan Siegel, he's a neuroscientist, is basic. So basic, behavior, affect, sensation, image, cognition. And let me break each one down for you. Behavior has to do with a physical impulse, a behavioral impulse, some kind of action that you want to take. And it could be all kinds of action. Usually the place you would feel this would be in the extremities. So you would feel it in like arms, legs, big muscle groups. And the information that you might feel would be wanting to duck if something was coming at you, or wanting to run away, or wanting to run towards, or wanting to like open your arms and embrace somebody. All these different movements, actions, that's behavior. Affect is just a fancy word to talk about emotions. And while there isn't total clarity about what emotions are, the best neuroscientists have come up with so far is emotions are a combination of internal, visceral experiences plus a judgment about whether or not that is pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And the judgment really comes from our history, actually. And then those processes together between the internal visceral experience of whatever's going on, plus the judgment about, do I like it, do I not like it? What unfolds from there is an emotional state. And so let me give you a really clear example of how to think about this. One person may love getting on roller coasters and another person may hate it. And so both people might be exposed to an image of a roller coaster, and they might both have a visceral experience of like butterflies in their stomach and maybe a little bit of like a quickness of breath and like eyes open, high energy arousal state. But for one person, the emotion might feel like anxiety and nervousness, while the other person, it might feel like excitement and joy and anticipation. And the difference, even though sensations are exactly the same, the difference would be based on their history. One person has a history that says, I don't like roller coasters, I'm not into it, and another person has a history that says, ooh, exciting. And so the emotion, the affect that comes out of this similar stimuli is entirely different. The next one is sensation. Sensation really originates in the viscera. So there's gray matter that's wrapped around the heart and lungs and wrapped around the gut. And those neurons, that's what they are, those neurons communicate information to our brain, really just the right side of the brain. All of the body stuff is connected to the right side of the brain. It feeds information to the right part of our brain, and then the rest of us make sense of it. But sensations, they all start in the body, particularly in the viscera. Some that might be familiar to you are like a pit in your stomach whenever you have nervousness about something, or a dropping feeling whenever you experience sadness, grief, hopelessness. Butterflies in the stomach whenever you're falling in love with someone and getting excited. Maybe a constriction in your chest whenever you think about that object of your interest and you're wondering whether or not they like you back. Or maybe there's like an opening, melting, warm feeling in your chest whenever you think of this object of interest person. I shouldn't call them an object, even though other parts of our brain think of them in that way. When you think of this other person, there might be an opening and a lightening and like a warm, tender feeling that spreads through your chest. And all of that is sensation. The things that happen in the viscera to communicate how you might be feeling about something. Next is image. Image could be metaphorical, or it could be memory coming up and showing up as an image. So I have one good friend who's very much an image person. Her brain mostly speaks in images. And I remember one time she was telling me, like, I'm really aware of this sleepiness, and whenever I think about it, I see a little mole with its eyes shut who like wants to hide from light and just fall asleep. That would be an image. When she sees that little mole in her mind, which is her sleepy part, that's a metaphorical image. Versus if there was a memory image, it might be something like, I'm also a sleepy person. So the image that came to mind was one time that I fell asleep in a really uncomfortable position on a slab of concrete. I have a superpower when it comes to falling asleep anywhere. So the mental image was of me falling asleep on concrete. And that is still an image because I'm picturing something in my mind that is a memory. It actually happened, but I see it. The last one is cognition. Cognition is all about our thinking. The voice in your mind that's constantly running and saying words, that is a cognition. And there could be all kinds of things going on in your mind. Imagine the example of like, your new beloved is going to come visit you, and the thoughts in your mind might be, what do I want to wear? Or do I have all the things that I was hoping to get in order for them to feel comfortable here? You might be running through a checklist of all the things you wanted to do to really make this person feel special and welcome as they come visit you for the first time. And so these are the 5 different ways that the brain speaks to us. And this is also what makes up an entire neural network. What I mean whenever I say that is the brain fires in certain patterns in order to give us information about our life. And so it might be a firing pattern that deals with memory and here's what I know about the world, here's how I'm going to behave knowing this thing about the world. So it's running on your history, which is actually always running all the time. We can talk about that in future videos. Or it might be a neural network that is experiencing something for the first time, and so it's laying down information about it. You could think about maybe the last time you traveled somewhere, stepping off the plane, taking in a new space. There's a neural network that holds that information. It holds the behavioral feeling of wanting to look around and see the new environment. It holds the affective experience, the emotional experience of what it was like to be in this new place. I'm thinking of the first time I went to Colorado, so I'm like thinking of mountains and the awe of wanting to look around and see the mountains, the feeling of like lifting and wonder and excitement, the sensations that go along with that, like a bubbliness in my stomach and chest, a little bit of lightness and opening, the image of just seeing mountains in the distance. And whenever I landed, it was actually a pretty sunset too. So seeing the image around me and internally also comparing that to all the images that I imagined of other mountains. And then the cognition. I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to get where I'm going so I can throw all my bags down and then go out and explore. All of that information is a neural network. And we have countless neural networks holding information in them. That is what makes up our entire life experience. And so how does this actually play out in relationship? Why does this matter in your romantic life with your partners maybe? One thing it can do is it can give you information about your history. If you start exploring these 5 different ways in which your brain speaks to you, you might gain some information about who am I in relationship? What are my reactions? What are my patterns that are helpful and maybe not helpful? What are the things I learned early on in life that no longer apply to my relationship today? And then the other way it might be helpful is in the moment as something is happening between you and your partner, if you're paying attention to these 5 different ways in which your brain is going to communicate to you, then you can more easily share with your partner what's going on inside of you. You will become better at communicating with them whenever you're able to track these things quickly and efficiently. And so the whole practice, as you're beginning to understand neural networks, is about tracking them, paying attention to each one, recognizing that you'll be better at some than others. There are usually 2 camps of people. Well, no, that's not true. Primarily, I find that people usually tend to lean cognitive or lean more emotional sensation. But really, people could be strong in any one of them. My best friend, I would say her strongest ones would be cognition and image. My partner would probably be cognition. Me, I am very much a sensation affect person. And so I get a lot of information about what my sensations in my body are and what I'm feeling emotionally, which is not surprising because those two are very closely related. Our sensations are part of what creates the emotional experience. And so first, just be aware of like, what are you best at? What does your brain naturally do well? What information do you hear the most clearly? And which ones are harder to hear? It might be that you're not very practiced at listening to your body sensations, or you're not very practiced at feeling behavioral impulses, the things that your body wants to do in a situation. Or it might be that you're somebody who gets a lot of emotional information, but you don't necessarily know what it means in words. And so it's kind of confusing as to like, okay, what am I supposed to do about this? I don't have a message about what these sensations and feelings mean. And so start there. Just start being curious about which languages do I hear the most easily and which languages do I probably need to practice. And then think of specific situations where you could practice this. And it could be all kinds of things. You could think about something in the past, like me thinking about my trip to Colorado. I could track all of the languages using that memory. Or it could be something that's going to happen in the future. So I'm thinking about moving in with my partner. That's going to be happening at the beginning of next year. And if I think about moving in with my partner, let's see, the behavior feels like an opening. My arms want to open up. I feel really like open. The affect is mostly excitement, anticipation, a little bit of anxiety. It's the first time we're living together, so how will that go? But mostly excitement. The sensations that go along with it are kind of bubbly in my stomach, maybe fluttery in my stomach. I feel a little bit of like buzziness here and some warmth. And I feel a little bit of like opening. There's some opening happening. And I even feel my shoulders pulling back, but that's more of a behavior. That like body muscle group thing is a behavior, not a sensation necessarily. And for an image, I just kind of get the image of us doing Tetris with all of our furniture and seeing what needs to go and what we'll keep and making everything fit. And then the last one, cognition. Really the only thought I'm aware of is like, oh, exciting. How will this go? We'll find out. And so you could use this practice to just begin building awareness. Play with it. Think about memories and try and track all 5 of these different languages. Think about something that's happening between you and your partner and try and track all of these different languages that your brain communicates in. I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave comments below. I love hearing how this goes for you. I love getting questions if you need anything clarified. And remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you would like more tips and tools all about building relationship and creating an awesome sex life. And I'll see you in future stuff. Bye for now.